Hello everyone, it's Shel from Paper Rock TO Studio, and today I'm sharing with you my fourth page in the 30-day challenge for November Daily Art Journal hashtag on Instagram. Remember that you can go there and search that hashtag and you can join us with all the prompts. Today's prompt is ocean. And so this is my fourth page about ocean. And what I was thinking about when I first thought about ocean was, of course, the things that are under the ocean, but I just did a mermaid, and before that I did some fish under the ocean for Pick a Stick Challenge. So I decided to think more about what's on top of the ocean and how we as humans interact with it. So that's what this page is about. I started out with a charcoal rough sketch. I'm pretending to be a fine artist today. Just, don't mind me. Went with the charcoal, and now I'm going with the pastels and doing it very painterly. But the reason that I am doing this picture, and I do have a reference photo that I'm looking at, is because I was thinking about fishing and fishermen and how fishermen have, historically and continue to be very important in our economy. In some places, they provide all the food for their village or whatever, or their family. Commercial fishermen work hard, and it's, long, hard work, and they're really interacting with the ocean. They're on it every day. They are taking their entire livelihood from it. And of course, there's other professions besides fishing that take from the ocean as well, but fishing is, I think, the major one. And in America, if you say a fisherman, you mean a guy who goes out and angles on the weekend or whatever, and some of them are more serious than that, but overall it's more of kind of like, in most cases, a hobby. And I have a lot of people in my family who really enjoy fishing. They either fish on lakes or dams, or not so much the ocean, although I'm sure that a few of them have been deep sea fishing, as a hobby. But ultimately, it's a hobby. It's not something that they are doing to provide for their family. I do have some people in my family who hunt as a way to provide for their family, and they really do hunt and use the meat as a source, because food is expensive and meat's very expensive. So I do have people who do that, but not so much the fishing. But if you were to say a fisherman in maybe another country, that might be a profession where they are every day, day in, day out, on the ocean, getting the fish to provide for sustenance. And then, of course, I'm a big fan of the show Survivor. And hey, if there's a guy on Survivor that can fish, he's not usually going to get voted out, because he is making, they're starving on Survivor. So if he can catch the fish, he's going to be a popular guy. So it's just interesting to think about the role of someone who fishes. So I decided to make my page about this boat that's just laying on the sand waiting for its fishermen to come out and go out into that pretty water and catch some fish. But there's a storm coming in from the west there. You can kind of see the darker clouds I'm trying to create. So I did my charcoal sketch and then I went in with some different soft tools. That's S-O-F-F-T tools, and there's different blades and knives and brushes and whatever. And I use different colors to try to kind of block in my different sections of where things are going to be. Kind of like an underpainting, but it's really just the first layer, whatever. Then now I have some clear gesso by Liquitex. And you're going to say to yourself, what the heck is she doing? Why is she doing that? Well, when I made this journal, and this is my nature journal, by the way, that's been all around the world, to Australia and all different places, has different people's art in it, but it still has a lot of pages left that need to be completed, so I just only do like landscapes and nature type stuff in it. And this particular spread is made with 80-pound watercolor paper. I use different papers in this one. I use some manila cardstock, some mixed media paper, and some of the lighter weight watercolor paper when I created this journal. So as I was going, I already, the thing about pastels is they need pockets to grab in on your paper. So it doesn't work well with a real smooth paper. You need something that's got tooth and rough and bumpy. Not so much that you can feel it, but that it's there. And pastel paper is designed like that, but of course it's thin, and you know, I just don't like thin papers. I get because I consider this mixed media because I did do pastels, I did charcoals, then I'm going to use some Posca pens, I used some clear gesso, and it's on watercolor paper, so I don't consider this a pure pastel piece. I think it's more mixed media, mixing stuff up, which is what I always do. That's what I like. I'm not going to stick to one thing. I'm not a purist. I'll throw whatever on there. So back to the clear gesso. So I was putting down my first layer, and already I could tell that my pastel was losing places to grip to. Like it was already making a lot of powder, which means it's not going down into the grooves. And I'm like, well, dang it, what should I do? If I had it, I would use this stuff called Pastel Ground. I don't own it. I mean, you know, how many mediums can you have? They're all so expensive and you don't know what you need, but that one is on my list now, Pastel Ground. And I assume, I've never used it, so I'm assuming that it creates tooth when you run out of tooth and all the little bumps and grooves on your paper are filled up with pastel and it's now become smooth. Then you put some of that on there, and it creates more tooth for your next layer. So since I didn't have that, I decided, well, what do I have? I have this Liquitex clear gesso that I hardly ever use, and the reason that I use it is because it's so that I don't use it is because it's so sandy. It's got grit in it, and I don't enjoy that at all. So I don't use it very often, but for this I thought, well, it's got grit in it, so wouldn't that help? And actually it did. So I went over, you know, different places. I started with I think I started with the light colors and did those first, and then I did the blues, or maybe it was the opposite. But anyway, as I was putting the medium on there, the gesso, it was picking up color onto my brush. So I needed to clean my brush frequently, and I needed to keep the warmer sandy brown orangey tones away from the blues, because otherwise I would just get some weird mix of strange greeny browny something. So I was trying to be a little bit careful. And then after that was dry, I could just go back in and start adding more layers. So that is how I did it. I completely think it worked, but I think that probably the Pastel Ground would work better. I just have to get some of that. I'll bet you it's like $15. I'll bet you for 8 ounces of it. I'm telling you, art can be expensive, people, especially if you don't make money at it. But I will get some eventually. So the next thing I did was to squirt my layers with some Spectra Fix. This is a pastel fixative that's supposedly workable, and it's non-toxic. It doesn't smell bad, so you can do it in your studio. I like that. Someone did challenge me to find out if you could use it with distress inks, because she'd heard that you could and she was going to buy some, and I did test that, and I would say no. I would say that the fixative fixes things, but it's in a pump sprayer and it's liquid. And so, as you know, if you work with distress inks or dilution sprays, they are designed to be extremely water reactive. So if you put something wet on there, it's going to react. And a pump sprayer of Spectra Fix is wet. So I don't think that it would be the best choice in trying to seal your distress inks. I know that people get very frustrated when they've created something beautiful with distress inks and then they go to seal it and it smears. That's just the way that those inks are designed. They're designed to be water reactive, and that's the reason that you can do things like lay down a heavy coat and then to put a stencil over it and then wipe some of it back. Make it blend with water. That's the nature of it. A regular watercolor might not do that, and it might work great for that. I didn't try it. Something that's not so crazily reactive to water might work great with Spectra Fix, but I wouldn't say that distress inks are a good choice. I would probably go with a drier fixative like an aerosol matte finish medium or something like that, or a workable fixative that's aerosol, but you're going to need to go outside and spray it outside because it's stinky. Stinky, stinky. So to finish up, I'm now doing my really super light colors and really super dark colors, which would be the black and the white. You want to use the black very sparingly. It's dark. These pastels are very high quality and they have a ton of pigment. So the black is black. They're not messing around with that black. The white, it's also highly pigmented, but this is something that I struggle with. I want to put my highlights on at the end. That's what I like to do. So the real whites I always want to put on at the end, and the pastel is not so good for that. So, it's not as white could be. So guess what happened? Yes, I could leave it like that. It's very painterly. It's fancy schmancy, fine art looking. But I'm not going to, because Posca pins, people, they invented them, and I love them. So out comes the white and the black Posca pins in the fine tip. And I'm just doing some like sketchy highlights. Still painterly, still holding it back far and using my wrist to make the strokes and make them very quickly, and not like, oh, this is an outline and I'm going to go very slow and outline. Not like that. Just sketchy. You know what I mean? I know I make no sense. It's okay. This whole video probably made no sense. But hey, it's only day 4 and I've got like a whole bunch of days left to make more art videos about art journaling every day. Every day. It's not the art that's the problem, it's the video. I wished I had a professional person to come and just like make my videos for me. But then of course you wouldn't get this chatting, because it wouldn't be me chatting, it would be someone else doing some fancy thing. I don't know what they would do, but a lot fancier than this. This is homemade, homegrown videos that I make. So then comes the black, just a teeny tiny bit of black Posca, not going overboard with it, adding a few little sketchy details. Then of course I have a poem that I found online that I thought was really cool, that I thought would go with my moody page. And so I printed that out on the printer, and I didn't seal it, which I should have, because it does smear a little bit. This is an inkjet printer, so whenever you print something out on an inkjet printer, you should seal it. And I usually do, and I usually use like clear matte medium with a brayer, and I just real quick brayer over it. Making a lot of sound effects today. That kind of sounded like a sprinkler, one of those ones that goes. Anyway, sidetracked. Whew, there's a butterfly. Yeah. Using the Liquitex matte gel medium, which is my favorite collage glue, to stick these on. And they probably could have been a bit smaller because they're taking up a lot of space, but I just really was not in the mood to go reprint it, especially since I'd already deleted the file. So just trying to fit it in some blank spots. It is a cool quote though, and this means I added collage, which means that's another thing towards mixed media, because now I got some collage on there, even though it's real basic. I'm not even going to put lines around it. I'm just going to leave it like that. So I think this page is done. I think it is. Yeah, but then no, it's not. Still got to add in a few more lines. That back area back there was bothering me. So if you like this video, remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, all those things, and look down below for any videos that my friends have made with the same ocean prompt. And also go over to Instagram at the #NovemberDailyArtJournal. That's it for me. Thanks. Bye-bye.